Welcome to Fairy Tales 1. I'm so glad you're here.
Hello, little dreamers, and welcome to our cozy storytelling corner. Are your ears ready? Are your imaginations bubbling? Good, because the story I have for you today is a very special one filled with quiet discoveries and the magic of hidden words. This tale is called Pip and the Whispering Scrolls. Once in a valley woven from emerald moss and shimmering with dew, lived a tiny curious creature named Pip. Pip wasn't like the bustling bumblebees who hummed all day, nor the chattering squirrels who kept track of every acorn. Pip was a whisper sprite, and whisper sprites had a very unique talent. They could hear the softest, most secret sounds in the world. Pip could hear the sigh of a sleeping flower, the shimmer of moonlight on a leaf, and the tiny, almost silent splash of a dewdrop falling into a puddle. Pip loved to collect these sounds, tucking them away like precious treasures in a little pouch made of woven cobweb silk. But one misty morning, Pip heard a sound that was entirely new. It wasn't a rustle or a chirp or a hum. It was a soft, rhythmic shhh, like something gently turning. It seemed to whisper secrets almost like a tiny breath exhaling a forgotten word. Pip tilted their head, their antennae quivering with curiosity. Where was this mysterious sound coming from? It seemed to drift from the oldest part of the valley, a place where ancient gnarled trees formed a shadowy canopy, a place most creatures avoided because it was simply too quiet. A new sound, Pip whispered to themselves, their heart fluttering with excitement. I must find it, I must add it to my collection. So with their cobweb pouch swinging gently, Pip set off. The journey was longer than expected. First, Pip had to navigate through the giggling reeds by the glimmering stream, which usually made so much noise they drowned out everything else. But Pip focused, letting the shhh guide them. Then they tiptoed across the whispering willow grove, where the willow branches always told long, sleepy stories. Pip politely nodded to the willows, but kept moving, drawn by the gentle, persistent sound. As Pip ventured deeper into the ancient part of the valley, the air grew cooler, and the light dappled through the thick leaves in emerald and gold patches. The shhh grew clearer, no longer just a faint whisper, but a steady rhythmic cadence. It seemed to come from behind a curtain of thick, tangled vines that clung to a towering, moss-covered rock formation. Taking a deep breath, Pip pushed through the vines. What they found surprised them completely. It wasn't a hidden spring or a sleeping animal or even a magical instrument. It was a small, dusty cave entrance almost entirely hidden by the greenery. And inside the cave, the shhh echoed more loudly. Pip cautiously stepped inside. The cave was not dark as they expected. Instead, a soft, glowworm light illuminated a truly astonishing sight. All around the cave, on shelves carved into the rock, were stacks and stacks of scrolls. They weren't just any scrolls. They were ancient, their edges softened with time, made of a material Pip had never seen before. Some were rolled neatly, others lay open, their surfaces covered in tiny swirling symbols that looked like intricate patterns or dancing insects. And the shhh? It was the gentle, continuous sound of a breeze rustling the edges of these very scrolls. They were the whispering scrolls. Pip had never seen anything like these symbols. In the valley, everything was communicated through sounds: chirps, songs, hums, and the intricate calls of the forest. These silent visual patterns were a complete mystery. Pip touched one of the scrolls with a trembling finger. The symbols were beautiful, but what did they mean? Were they tiny drawings? Could they hold secrets? As Pip explored, they noticed a pedestal in the center of the cave, bathed in the softest glow. On top of it rested a single, unusual object. It looked like a slender, clear crystal quill, but it pulsed with a faint, warm light. Drawn by its gentle hum, Pip reached out and touched it. As soon as Pip's tiny finger made contact with the crystal quill, a gentle vibration ran through the cave. And then the most extraordinary thing happened. Pip felt a warm rush of understanding flow into their mind. Pip looked at the symbols on the nearest scroll again, and this time, as their gaze swept over them, the quill pulsed, and the symbols bloomed into meaning. This scroll wasn't just patterns. It was a story about the first dewdrop that fell in the valley and how it sparkled with all the colors of the rainbow. Pip looked at another scroll, and suddenly they heard a song, not with their ears, but with their mind, a melody about the brave little acorn who grew into the mightiest oak. The crystal quill wasn't just a quill. It was an interpretive quill left behind long ago by ancient whisper scribes who knew how to turn sounds into silent symbols, and silent symbols back into sounds and stories. Pip spent hours in the cave touching scroll after scroll with the interpretive quill, unraveling the hidden tales, the forgotten songs, and the wise sayings of the valley's past. They learned about brave little beetles, about how the stars got their twinkle, and about the secret language of the flowers. The SHHSHHHSHHH of the rustling scrolls no longer felt mysterious. It felt like a chorus of voices sharing their wisdom. Pip knew then that this discovery was too wonderful to keep secret. They gently picked up the interpretive quill and carefully, reverently gathered a few of the most beautiful scrolls, their edges still whispering. Pip returned to the valley, no longer just a collector of sounds, but a bearer of silent stories. Back home, Pip carefully showed the scrolls and the quill to the other whisper sprites. At first, they were confused by the silent symbols. But when Pip touched the quill to a scroll and shared the stories and songs that bloomed in their minds, the other whisper sprites gasped in wonder. They had never known that words could be captured in such a beautiful, silent way, waiting to be rediscovered. From that day on, Pip became the valley's story weaver of the silent scrolls. Pip didn't just collect sounds anymore. They helped others understand the magic of written words, translating the ancient texts with the interpretive quill. The valley, already rich with sounds, became even richer with the rediscovered wisdom of the whispering scrolls. And every time a gentle breeze rustled the leaves, Pip smiled, knowing that somewhere the silent stories were still whispering, waiting to be heard by a curious heart. And with that, our adventure ends for today. If Pip's journey and the magic of the whispering scrolls sparked your imagination, a little like would be wonderful. It helps us know you loved the story. And if you don't want to miss our next tale, be sure to subscribe to our channel. Until next time, little dreamers, keep listening for the magic all around you.
See you again, and do like, share, and subscribe the channel Fairy Tales.